Jayson Tatum actively recruiting Dame Lillard to the Boston Celtics. We'll talk a little bit about that. Plus, the Nuggets trade is officially final, bringing Jonas Valančiūnas to that Denver Nuggets team. Morant says he's in the lab working, and the Bucks team president says that he was laughing at Giannis trade rumors. We're going to talk about all that and more on today's NBA Central.
Welcome to the number one place for your daily basketball news and analysis, NBA Central.
What's going on, basketball fans? Welcome to another episode of NBA Central, your number one spot for everything basketball related. I'm the host there, Hayes, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at NBA Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that said, let's go to get into this content for today, y'all. And Jayson Tatum recruiting Dame Lillard to the Boston Celtics. Are they going to be recuperating from the injuries together? And as far as the torn ACL, boys, but you know, that's something that we'll see. This one comes from the Boston Globe, and Gary Washburn there that says this. Dame Lillard remains a free agent, but is considering his options, and the Celtics are indeed one of them. The 9-time All-Star is in no hurry to sign, but the Celtics are interested in a multi-year deal that would allow him to return fully healthy from his torn Achilles for the 2026-27 season in a Celtics uniform, along with a healed Jayson Tatum for a title run. According to NBA sources, Tatum has been active in recruiting Lillard to Boston, and the market for the point guard is limited because his injury will prevent him from likely playing most of next season. Lillard sustained his injury on April 27th, 15 days prior to Tatum's injury. Now, we've talked about the Boston Celtics and their maneuvers to get under the second tax apron, which, shout out to them, they were able to complete, they reshaped their roster. But in wanting to be a team that can be a championship contender right away, right back when Jayson Tatum is healed from injury, they're going to have to try to get cost-effective contracts in the door. And Dame Lillard would potentially be one of those. Now, the question, of course, as is going to be with any player of Dame's age that suffers a torn Achilles, is how much of himself is he going to be back to being, right? Kevin Durant is probably the player you look at him making the most as far as a return and being basically themselves after a torn Achilles, and it took a while there, right? Jayson Tatum is much younger. The outlook on him is a lot more promising, so to say. And that's not to say that the outlook for Dame Lillard is necessarily bad, but of course it is more promising the younger that you are. So with the Celtics in a place where they want to have a roster that can compete, they want that there. It makes sense that they are looking at players like Dame to see if they can add to the team, because I tell you what, as much as people talk down about Dame in the run with the Bucks, and we understand it was never quite what you wanted it to be there, Dame is still a player that can absolutely still fill it up. There's no mistake about it. And the Boston Celtics could be a team that has enough of a defensive base to where even with his return, that Dame Lillard, is not going to be the player that he once was, and he already wasn't a great defender. But that there's enough to where you're able to overcome some of that's going to be missing there. And that's basically what you're looking at for. The Boston Celtics, who reportedly are very interested in keeping, their core together. They're Peyton Pritchard, Derek White, Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown. They want to keep those four players together, and then they want to add players around that they can still compete. You look at Dame Lillard and what he did even last year, 24 points per game. He did that on 44% shooting from the field, which, again, that's actually one of the highest percentages of him shooting from the field in his career, and 37% from three-point range. So this is not a player, despite only playing 58 games, that is ineffective by any stretch of the imagination. As a matter of fact, Dame hasn't averaged less than 20 points per game for his whole entire NBA career other than his rookie season. This is still a player that can fill it up. This is still a player that can hit big shots for you. That is still a matchup problem that teams are going to have to account for. And when you add that to Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum and Derek White and Peyton Pritchard, and they're still going to be looking to add some other pieces in between now and that time, this makes sense for the Boston Celtics to try to get Dame in here. And they already are waiting a year for Jayson Tatum to come back. They're taking a gap year, still going to be competitive in the East, but they're still taking a gap year. So why not sign him? Go ahead and have him locked in, give him a multi-year deal, have him and Jayson Tatum return at the same time. Why not? So I understand the risk that the Boston Celtics are willing to take here to bring Dame Lillard to their team. And it's a shot that, guess what? It makes sense for them to try to take. They're going to have to take some other ones as far as finding some other players to fill out other roles for them over that time period. Their center rotation is still mad questionable. I'll say their 4 and 5 rotation has a lot to be desired in it. And, that we'll see what shakes out with that. But they still have depth in some place. You still got Peyton Pritchard coming off the bench for you. We'll see what happens with Anthony Simons long term. they did pretty good in the draft too. Amari Williams and Hugo Gonzalez in the draft, while players that you don't look at necessarily and say, boom, this is going to be your role in the NBA right away. These are two very promising players that have really good upside as far as what they can do. Amari Williams, that's just going out there and doing center type things, rim protection, rebounding, being big, right? Some of that. He's a guy that projects to be able to bring that to the NBA level, legit NBA size right away. Hugo Gonzalez is another guy that I think has a lot of potential as a scorer in the NBA. You add those two guys at decent enough draft picks for yourself, and you spend the next year developing those guys, getting them ready to be, at least contribute somewhat in role player type roles for you when Tatum comes back. You never know. It's the Eastern Conference too. You may have something there. You don't know if the Cavs are going to keep their team together between now and the beginning of the 26-27 season. This may be the last run that they try to do that with. So you have an opportunity and a path there. And I, for one, admire the Boston Celtics. It would have been very easy to just sit back in this season and just say, all right, bet we're going to draft our draft picks and we'll worry about that next summer when Tatum's more healthy. No, they're trying to go ahead and set themselves up for some things. So we'll see what ends up coming to that. What they do with that, we shall see. Next up, the Denver Nuggets trade for Jonas Valančiūnas and Dario Saric has been officially made official late yesterday afternoon, or evening, I should say. And so that now trade is official. There's been a lot of questions on what was holding that trade up, especially with the Valančiūnas kind of thing about him going over and playing in Greece. But now that trade is now official, now puts the news on what's going to happen. Are the Denver Nuggets going to let Valančiūnas out of his contract? The last that we heard is that they are expected to make him honor his contract, and they will not be doing a buyout to let him allow him to go over and play in Greece. And I understand that, right? So, that's the thing with signing your NBA contract. And so if the Nuggets don't agree to a buyout, he's going to be playing for the Denver Nuggets next year. Now, for what it's worth, Valančiūnas averaged 10.4 points, 7 rebounds last season, and he would bring some solid backup center play for Nikola Jokic, and that's exactly what the Denver Nuggets want out of it. And that's what the Denver Nuggets really, their whole focus has been this offseason, is going out and finding depth. They lost a lot of depth after they won their championship, and and they brought some of that back now. But now they've got that depth. You traded Michael Porter Jr. You brought in Cam Johnson, who's a player that does a lot of the same things that Michael Porter Jr. does, but more consistently. Doesn't have the injury concerns there. You still got Aaron Gordon. You're hoping Christian Braun's going to take another step up. But outside of that, you got Deron Holmes as well, who he had his own Achilles injury last year. You're hoping he's going to be able to bring something, but you have Valančiūnas there in case he does not. And so, I'm not saying that the Denver Nuggets are going to hold him to the 2 years left on his deal, but I would not be surprised if they hold him into this season. If Deron Holmes ends up showing himself to actually be a player that can be a suitable backup for Valančiūnas, they may let him out of his deal, this time next year. But, all signs point to the Denver Nuggets holding on to that. And I think they've done solidly this season. I'm not saying they've had a great offseason, but bringing Bruce Brown back, who was an important role player for them in that season. They still got Peyton Watson there as well. They got some solid players, and they're gonna have a solid rotation and be able to go deeper into the bench than what they were the last couple of years. And that's definitely been something that's held them back at times. So not mad at the Denver Nuggets here. That trade is now made official. Now we just got to see if they are officially that they are going to actually allow him to stay over here. Force him to stay over here, honor the last part of his contract, and we'll see what the future does hold there. Let me know what you guys think on that. Are the Denver Nuggets right to make Valančiūnas hold out this contract, or do you think they should do the moral thing in that because he wants to go over in Greece and let him go play over there? Let me know what you guys think on that down below. Next up, one of the players that's team made a significant change this offseason was the Memphis Grizzlies. And that changed, and then they turned around. They re-signed Jaren Jackson Jr., or gave him an extension, quite a sizable extension. And reportedly around that time that they wanted to wait and see what's going on with Ja, whether that means extending him or whether that means, eventually looking to pursue some trade options for him or whatever else. But Ja Morant was a player that last year, and still at only 25 years old, which, it's crazy. He's been in the league since 2019. He's only 25. He had an up and down season at times last year. He tried to do more facilitating. He didn't have some of those Ja moments that we look at as completely taking over games as frequently as what he did, but he still put up a decent season. 23 points per game, 4 rebounds, 7 assists that he still did per game as well, 1.2 steals per game, 45% shooting from the field, only 30% shooting from three-point range. But, they made the trade. They traded Desmond Bane to the Orlando Magic. They got back in that KCP and Cole Anthony. Cole Anthony got his bad hairline ass cut were bought out. He's now moving on to the Milwaukee Bucks. And so now you have this team where you got KCP, you got Cedric Cowart there as well, who was their draft pick, who I think fits in perfectly as a player next to Ja with his defense ability, catch and shoot ability, those type of things. And so, you know, you have this Memphis Grizzlies team that's looking to kind of recapture some things. This is a team that many people were looking at as up on the uptick, right? After what they had done there and the young talent that they had, you know, accumulated there, this is looking like a team that maybe was going to be competing in the East for years and years to come. And then injuries happened. The Ja Morant drama happened. Then, last year he comes back. He only plays 9 games in 2024-25. Last year he comes back. He plays over 60 games, which is really good. But there's still the thing now with Ja and wanting to wait and see. And I think the Memphis Grizzlies, even looking at the situation, saying, yeah, we're going to extend JJJ now. We're going to wait and see what's going on with Ja, should be a motivating factor for Ja, right? And for what it's worth, it seems like Ja Morant, who said that he's already back in the lab, he's preparing, he's working, saying this, I'm already in the lab. I feel good. I feel ready to go. It's exciting, a new challenge for us. And that came from Essentially Sports. And so we shall see what that means for Ja Morant and him being ready to go, right? And hopefully he is, because this is a player that, a lot of people were talking about, like him being one of the best players in the league. And because of drama and other things like that, that talk is kind of subsidized a little bit, but it could be right back there. We know the talent that Ja Morant has and what he can bring to the NBA. The question is he going to be able to focus enough on the basketball court to get it done? I hope that he can. Ja is a player that I root for. I hope that Ja is able to get it all done, bring it all together, because this is still a Memphis Grizzlies team with tons of upside. I'm not going to talk about this Grizzlies team as if they're done and have no upside. They have tons of upside still with this Memphis Grizzlies team. They just got to bring it together. Jaren Jackson Jr., you got to stop fouling so much, my boy. You be Defensive Player of the Year. Stop fouling so much. Those type of things. And, as this team figures it out, they still got Zach Edey there, who's a player that, shout out to them, draft him and turn him into him being functional for that team, even though there's some matchups that he just doesn't work as well in. But, this is a Grizzlies team that's on the uptick. They just got to continue to go at it, continue to find their path, and hopefully Ja Morant is going to be part of that for years to come, and we shall see. Last topic of the day today, the Milwaukee Bucks and Giannis reportedly are in a good place, per their team president, who said this. We kind of laugh initially. It's where we've been for 10 years. Giannis loves Milwaukee. Milwaukee loves Giannis. We're in a good place. We feel great about it. It's business as usual. We're looking forward to next season. Now, we know that, or what we've heard, right, that Giannis is taking a very wait and see approach when it comes to the Milwaukee Bucks and what his future could be there for that team. They went out and got Miles Turner, shout out to Miles Turner, who basically, talked about, the situation that led him there were basically because of how the Pacers treated him. The Bucks slid in there. They did something completely unexpected in waiving and stretching Dame Lillard to create themselves an opportunity to sign Miles Turner and bring him to this team. They then made a subsequent set of moves after that continue to show that, hey, they were trying to build something around Giannis here to at least give some question and to show that, hey, good faith showing that we are trying to build something around here that we can compete in the Eastern Conference. Now, it's going to remain to be seen how good it's going to be, right? You got Gary Trent Jr. back in here. Kyle Kuzma's still on the roster. You say that for what you will. You got Miles Turner in here. You re-sign Bobby Portis. So you still have some, you got Gary Harris in here. Cole Anthony's on his way coming in here too, him and his hairline. Tyler Smith is still there, another player that I was actually pretty high on Tyler Smith in that draft. I think people forget that was another player that, has some legit size and could learn behind Bobby Portis. So we'll see what happens here with the Bucks. I don't think the Bucks have done enough to where Giannis is going to feel comfortable saying, hey, yeah, I'm not leaving the Bucks. I'm here. Lock me in. I'm good to go. But I think they've done enough to show, hey, we are willing to do what it takes to continue reshaping this team. And look out for the Bucks at the trade deadline to see what happens here. I expect them to still be a team that's always looking out for opportunities to continue to improve their team. We just got to see if they're going to be able to do it. If they can, great. If they don't, all right, we'll see what ends up happening there. But there's a lot to be said, a lot around the NBA. We'll continue to monitor it. Summer League's still been really, really fun to watch. So make sure you guys stay in tune and check all that out. But that's my time for today. Make sure you guys are following us at NBA Central Pod. You send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, NBA Central Show at gmail.com. And then lastly, if you want to leave a text message and or voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We're the number one spot for everything basketball related. I'll catch you guys the next time I feel like making a video. Probably tomorrow. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Breaks Media.